I have to admit something. Until 6 months ago, whenever someone mentioned Burkina Faso, I only thought of the sad stories of poverty and instability that the Western media often tells. But the story I just discovered about Ibrahim Traoré and the 40 tons of missing gold not only completely changed my perspective on this country, but also made me question everything I thought I knew about Africa. What's miraculously happening in Burkina Faso will surprise you as much as it surprised me, and it all starts with an investigation into the nation's gold reserves that vanished without a trace. To understand why finding 40 tons of gold is so earth-shattering, we must go back to 2014, when Burkina Faso was one of the poorest countries in the world. For over 3 decades, the nation was completely dominated by foreign gold mining corporations. Despite being one of Africa's largest gold producers, with an annual output of up to 70 tons, 90% of the profits flowed into the pockets of multinational companies from Canada, the UK, and France. Burkina Faso's national gold reserve, estimated at around 40 to 50 tons of gold bars, mysteriously disappeared entirely in 2014 during a chaotic political transition. The former government claimed the gold had been safely transferred, but no one knew where it was. An 8-year international investigation yielded no clues. The World Bank and the IMF even completely removed this figure from Burkina Faso's national asset reports, considering it a permanent loss. This situation persisted from 2014 to 2022, plunging Burkina Faso's economy deep into crisis. The poverty rate rose from 40% to 61%, foreign debt increased from $2.8 billion to $4.2 billion, and the country became entirely dependent on international aid for basic operations. The people of Burkina Faso, despite living on resource-rich land, suffered from poverty, while their resources were exploited to enrich foreign corporations. In the army, Traoré quickly stood out for his leadership skills and deep understanding of geology. He was described by his colleagues as extremely disciplined, living a simple life, and possessing an extraordinary ability to inspire. More importantly, he had a particular obsession with understanding the origin and whereabouts of Burkina Faso's natural resources, especially gold. On September 30th, 2022, after a swift and bloodless coup, Ibrahim Traoré became Africa's youngest leader at the age of 34. His first message was simple, yet resolute. We will reclaim what belongs to us and build Burkina Faso with the hands of the Burkinabe people. Unlike the empty promises of previous politicians, Traoré had prepared a concrete 3-phase plan. The first 6-month phase was reclaiming national assets, focusing on investigating and recovering the 40 tons of missing gold. He believed that finding this gold would not only solve financial problems, but also restore the people's faith in the country's ability to be self-reliant. The second phase, over the next 12 months, would be restructuring the mining sector, placing all key gold mines under state control, and training Burkinabe experts to replace foreign labor. The third phase was industrialization and value addition, building smelters and gold processing plants right in Burkina Faso instead of exporting raw materials. The most important thing that set Traoré apart, everything would be done by the people of Burkina Faso, with the resources and intellect of Burkina Faso. No aid from the World Bank, no loans from the IMF, no dependence on Western technology, and no need for foreign experts. He had absolute faith in the internal strength of his nation. And then, on March 15th, 2023, the miracle began. There were no loudspeakers urging them on, no top-down propaganda, no threats or coercion. There was only a simple message passed from mouth to mouth, from village to village. Let us help find our ancestors' gold, to build a future for our children. The people's response was immediate and more powerful than Traoré could have ever imagined. In the Boucle du Mouhoum province, over 2,000 local miners voluntarily joined the search campaign, using traditional geological knowledge passed down through generations. They brought simple tools like picks, shovels, and old metal detectors, but more importantly, a deep understanding of every rock and stream in the region. In the Sahel province, once considered a worthless desert region, 800 people, including women and children, organized themselves into 40 small groups to survey every hectare of land. A 73-year-old woman named Fatou Sankara shared, "My husband used to tell me about secret caves where his grandfather hid gold to avoid the French colonialists. Now is the time for us to find what belongs to us." In the Center-West region, young university graduates built their own survey equipment from recycled materials. They combined modern scientific knowledge with folk wisdom, creating search methods that were both effective and cost-efficient. The spirit was one of passionate work. Everyone saw this not just as an economic task, but as a mission to restore national pride. But the most impressive numbers were not the dry statistics, but the change in spirit and national pride. For the first time in decades, the people of Burkina Faso felt they could control their own destiny. Surveys showed that trust in the government soared from 23% to 87%, and faith in the country's future increased from 31% to 92%. At the site of the largest gold discovery in Dori, Ibrahim Traoré said, "Today, we have not just found gold, we have found ourselves again, found the belief that Africans can be masters of their own resources, that they can create miracles with their own hands. This is just the beginning of a much larger revolution." Within 2 months of this historic discovery, visible changes appeared across Burkina Faso. Economically, GDP in the third quarter of 2023 grew by 12% compared to the same period last year, marking the highest growth in 15 years. Per capita income increased by 18%, thanks to a policy of sharing gold profits with the people. The unemployment rate dropped from 28% to 19% due to the boom in industries related to gold mining and processing. International trade also took an impressive turn. For the first time in its history, Burkina Faso became a net exporter of pure gold instead of relying on foreign corporations. The trade balance shifted from an $800 million deficit to a $400 million surplus in just 6 months. The Burkinabe CFA franc strengthened by 15% against the dollar, helping to reduce import costs and inflation. Socially, the lives of the people improved markedly. The Gold for Education program built 200 new schools and renovated 500 old ones, raising the school enrollment rate from 67% to 89%. The healthcare system received significant investment with 50 new health centers, helping to reduce the child mortality rate from 52 per thousand to 38 per thousand. Social security improved significantly as the crime rate fell by 31% due to increased employment and better living standards. Aminata Ouedraogo, 34, a teacher in Ouahigouya, shared, "Before, I had to teach 80 students in a dilapidated classroom, lacking books and school supplies. My son used to ask why the kids on TV had so many toys, and he didn't. Now, the new school is built with full facilities, my class has only 25 students, and my son proudly tells his friends that his parents are building a rich country." Psychologically and spiritually, the change was even more profound. The people of Burkina Faso changed how they saw themselves and their future. From a nation that once felt inferior and dependent, they became a confident and self-reliant community. Sociological studies showed that the percentage of young people wanting to emigrate fell from 73% to 42%. Instead, they wanted to stay and contribute to their homeland. The cultural shift was also remarkable. Traditional festivals were celebrated on a larger scale, folk art was encouraged, and local languages were used more in education. People proudly wore traditional attire and introduced Burkinabe culture to international friends instead of feeling ashamed as before. The impact of Burkina Faso's success has spread beyond its borders like increasingly powerful ripples. In the West African region, neighboring countries like Mali, Niger, and Ghana have begun to study Burkina Faso's model of resource sovereignty. The Malian government has established a special committee to study the feasibility of applying a similar method to their gold mining sector. Niger, a country rich in uranium but the poorest in the world, sent a delegation of experts to Burkina Faso to learn from their experience. The president of Niger declared, "If Burkina Faso can master its gold resources, then we can master our uranium. It is time for Africa to decide its own destiny." Ghana, although already a successful gold mining nation, is also interested in Burkina Faso's model of equitable profit distribution. They are considering policy adjustments to ensure local communities benefit more from their natural resources. Globally, the reaction has been clearly divided. International organizations like the World Bank and the IMF were initially skeptical, warning of the risks of resource nationalism. However, faced with concrete and impressive results, they have had to admit that the Burkina Faso model is worth studying and potentially replicable. International development experts began to rewrite their theories on African development. Professor John Smith from the London School of Economics admitted, "We were wrong to think that Africa needed the West to develop. Burkina Faso has proven that when empowered and trusted, local people can achieve results that far exceed expectations." The international media also underwent a notable shift. From being silent or reporting negatively about Africa, many major news outlets began to change their perspective. The BBC produced a documentary on the Burkina Faso miracle, and CNN had a special series on the rise of the new Africa. Within the African diaspora community, the story of Burkina Faso has created a powerful wave of pride. Remittances from the African diaspora to Burkina Faso increased by 340% in the last 6 months. Many engineers, doctors, and entrepreneurs of African descent in the West have decided to return to invest and contribute to their homeland. The most remarkable thing is the shift in global perception of Africa. For the first time in decades, Africa is seen not as a continent that needs to be saved, but as a continent with immense potential that is creating its own miracles. This is not just a short-term success or a temporary phenomenon. Ibrahim Traoré has a very clear and scientific long-term vision for Burkina Faso's future. Phase 2, in the next 6 to 12 months, will focus on building a domestic gold processing industry. Instead of exporting raw gold at low prices, Burkina Faso will produce jewelry, coins, and other high-end gold products, increasing export value by 3 to 5 times. The specific goals are to build 5 modern smelters in strategic areas, train 2,000 professional jewelers, and create 15,000 new jobs in the gold value chain. Traoré has signed cooperation agreements with local universities to develop technical training programs for gold processing, ensuring 100% of the workforce is Burkinabe. Phase 3 in the next 2 to 5 years is even more ambitious. Burkina Faso will become the gold industry hub of West Africa, providing processing services to neighboring countries. At the same time, diversification into other precious metals like silver, copper, and zinc will turn Burkina Faso into a comprehensive mining powerhouse. In terms of technology, the country will invest heavily in research and development of sustainable, environmentally friendly mining technologies. Traoré aims for Burkina Faso to be exporting both mining technology and equipment to other African countries by 2028. The vision for 2030 that Traoré paints is even more ambitious. Burkina Faso will become an upper middle income country with a per capita GDP of $5,000, a tenfold increase from the present. The poverty rate will fall below 5%, university education will be free for all citizens, and the healthcare system will meet European standards. Most importantly, Burkina Faso will become a symbol of a new development model, proving that African nations can be self-reliant and prosperous without depending on foreign aid or investment. This model can be replicated and applied to any nation or community with the right determination and methods. So what can we learn from the Burkina Faso miracle? This story teaches us 5 important lessons that any community can apply. The first lesson is the power of self-reliance. When Burkina Faso refused to depend on foreign corporations and decided to solve its own problems, it discovered immense hidden resources and capabilities. The fact that 15,000 people with simple tools could find 40 tons of gold that international companies with modern technology could not, proves that local knowledge and determination have a power that far surpasses technology and capital. This means any community can leverage its internal resources and wisdom to solve challenges instead of waiting for outside help. The second lesson is the value of unity. Burkina Faso's success came not from one genius individual, but from the collective strength of 22 million people working towards a single goal. The fact that miners, engineers, farmers, and intellectuals worked together not for personal gain, but for a common future created an irresistible synergy. In any project or goal, unity and cooperation are always stronger than competition and division. The third lesson is the importance of a clear vision. Ibrahim Traoré had not just a short-term plan but a clear long-term vision, helping everyone understand what greater purpose they were contributing to. When a miner knows that searching for gold is not just about making money but about building schools for his children, he will work with a completely different motivation. This teaches us that every effort needs a greater purpose to sustain long-term motivation. The fourth lesson is the power of simple solutions. Instead of using expensive technology or complex methods, Burkina Faso succeeded by combining traditional knowledge with modern science, using simple yet effective tools. Old metal detectors and the experience of local miners were more powerful than modern equipment and foreign experts. This reminds us that the best solution is often the simplest one. The fifth lesson is the importance of execution. Ibrahim Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso didn't just talk, they acted. They turned words into actions, plans into concrete results in a short amount of time. Finding 40 tons of gold in 3.5 months is proof that when there is determination and the right method, nothing is impossible. These lessons apply not only to Burkina Faso but to any community, organization, or individual in the world facing challenges and wanting to create positive change. Because at its core, this is a story about fundamental human values, belief in human potential, the power of unity and cooperation, the determination to overcome adversity, and a vision for a better future. So the question for each of us is, if 15,000 people in Burkina Faso can find 40 tons of gold and change the fate of their country, what can you do in your community, in your job, in your life? Change doesn't require a huge budget as governments often think. Burkina Faso did it with a cost of only $4.2 million, less than the price of a single fighter jet. Change doesn't need permission from a higher authority or an international organization. Traoré acted based on the determination and support of his people. Change doesn't need advanced, expensive technology or a high-level degree from a prestigious university. Simple miners with practical experience did what international experts could not. Change only requires the true determination and commitment that Ibrahim Traoré demonstrated. He lived up to his words and led by personal example. Change needs a spirit of cooperation and sharing, as the people of Burkina Faso did. They put the common good above personal interests. Change needs patience and perseverance to overcome initial difficulties. Change needs a clear vision of the goal to maintain long-term motivation. Today, right now, you can start by identifying a specific problem in your community that you care about, no matter how small. It could be an environmental issue in your neighborhood, education for poor children, or support for lonely elderly people. Then research and connect with like-minded people, forming a small but determined group. Finally, start with a small but concrete action this week, whether it's just a meeting, a workshop, or a small awareness campaign. Because, as Ibrahim Traoré said, true strength does not lie in skyscrapers or massive gold vaults. It lies in the hearts and hands of every citizen when they are determined to create a better future for their children. The real heroes don't wear capes or have superpowers. They don't need a PhD from Harvard or backing from some billionaire. They just need their hands, their minds, and their hearts, along with an unshakable faith in their ability to create a better future. They are ordinary people like us, but they dare to act instead of just complaining, refuse to wait for the perfect opportunity, and build change themselves step by step, day by day. Ibrahim Traoré and the 22 million people of Burkina Faso have proven that nothing is impossible when people unite with determination. They have turned audacious dreams into a living reality. If this story inspires you, please like this video so the algorithm can share it with more people. Share it with your friends and family to spread the positive spirit. Subscribe to the channel to follow more stories about human strength, and comment below to share your thoughts and inspiration. Let's celebrate the silent heroes of Burkina Faso and remind the world that the true power to change lies not in skyscrapers or international conferences, but in the very hands and hearts of the people. Thank you for taking the time to watch this story, and remember, change starts with you today, with the smallest decision in your daily life.